Sometimes we're afraid of ourselves, afraid of our own thoughts, afraid of the dark side within. Since childhood we were told, don't think bad thoughts, don't wish harm, don't be angry. Fear was installed early. If you break even one commandment from the Bible, you'll burn in eternal fire. Over and over again we were shown visions of hell, boiling cauldrons, flames, suffering. And even if you've never killed or stolen, but once had a dark thought, that alone might be enough to condemn you. And so, people begin to fear even their own thoughts. They live as if a silent judge hovers above, recording every flicker of emotion. But what are these thoughts really? Is a fleeting thought a life sentence? Yes, sometimes we pick up thoughts from external fields, other people's anger, foreign programs. But there is another side, the darkness within us. And that darkness is not the enemy. Sometimes a person dares to step into that shadow, and suddenly everything starts working out. Strangely, it's when we act from that raw, real place, not when we pretend to be saints, that life begins to flow. Because when you're always smiling, always saying yes, always playing the role of the perfect angel, something inside begins to rot. The body doesn't lie. The soul doesn't lie. Suppress your truth long enough, and it will destroy you from within. Here lies the paradox. The shadow we hide is the same force that holds our vitality. It's not evil. It's power. And we need to be clear. In this video, darkness does not mean violent urges, psychopathy, or romanticizing pain. If someone feels compulsions toward harm, to self or others, that's a signal to seek professional help. Full stop. The shadow I speak of is human energy, repressed but alive. Anger that says, my boundaries are being crossed. Envy that reveals, this is what I desire. Fear that whispers, be prepared. Ambition that was once shamed, be humble. The world said no, to joy, to money, to voice, to desire. But that energy doesn't die. Suppress it long enough and it turns into fatigue, illness, a lump in the throat, passive aggression, rage, procrastination, self-sabotage. But when you welcome it, when you give it direction, your shadow becomes fuel. Anger becomes the drive to finish what you started. Envy becomes a plan, what to learn, what steps to take. Fear becomes strategy, not panic. Pain becomes purpose, art, empathy, transformation. Your shadow is the second pole of your inner battery. Without it, the circuit doesn't connect. You're not releasing a monster. You're reclaiming your voltage. To live aware. To live like an adult. Imagine this. There's a character inside you. The one you've hidden from the world. He sits quietly in the corner of your inner home, waiting. That's your shadow. Not a villain. Just a part of you that you locked behind a door because society said, that's not allowed. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It starts to whisper. You're exhausted, just say no. You want more, don't be afraid to admit it. You're angry. That's okay. Anger is a signal that something is violating your core. Most people are terrified of these whispers, so they drown them out with food, alcohol, noise, distraction. But the shadow doesn't go away. It keeps coming back. Until you say, yes, you are part of me. Try a simple experiment. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what do I not allow myself to feel? The answer will come quickly. A sensation, an image, a memory. That is your shadow. Don't push it away. Say, I see you. Sometimes that alone melts the tension. The war ends, dialogue begins, and with it energy returns. Energy that was trapped in illness, blocks, numbness. Suddenly your shadow becomes a compass. Here's pain. There's truth. Here's envy. There's your goal. Ask yourself, how much energy would I free up if I stopped fighting myself? From my own life, I find myself drawn to people who are real, impulsive, alive, raw, people who don't hide behind plastic smiles. They say what they mean. They sometimes explode. They mess up, but they are alive. You see all of them, both light and dark. And then there are the perfect people. I've met them too. Calm, smiling, polite. But in time the mask slips, and behind it is often a silent internal hell. When someone always says, "I'm fine," burying pain and anger, it doesn't just vanish. It turns into illness, breakdown, emptiness. Everyone has a dark side. But those who accept it, who allow themselves to get angry, to speak their truth, they live honestly. Those who wear a white mask for society often become its prisoner. I'm not saying you should lash out at people, but to be real is to accept both light and shadow, with friends, at home, with yourself. Feel your emotions. Don't lock them in a box, because those who suppress the most often collapse first. Repressed shadows don't disappear. They find outlets. Most often, through addiction, alcohol, cigarettes, substances, food, gambling. These are not just habits. They are escape hatches, ways to let out what we're too afraid to show while sober. How many times have you seen this? A quiet, shy person drinks, and suddenly says everything they've been holding back. They laugh loudly, curse, speak their truth. They feel alive, but not from inner power, from a mask, from a chemical permission slip. And the next morning comes shame. Shame for what was said, for being too much. So they bury the shadow again and reach for another dose, and thus the loop begins. Release, shame, repression, addiction, and the addiction egregore thrives. The more shame, the more repression, the more energy it feeds on. Eventually, the person isn't just releasing the shadow. They become possessed by it. They dissolve. There is only one way out. Don't wait till morning. Don't hide behind chemicals. Start small. Tell one truth to someone you trust. Say no and mean it. Admit a desire out loud. It won't be easy. It'll feel awkward. You may be misunderstood. But that's the moment the shadow stops turning to addiction for relief. Because in this dual world, light and dark both exist. Day and night. Inhale and exhale. Accepting both sides of yourself is what makes you whole. When you say, "Yes, I have a shadow, and it's part of me," you become whole. No addiction egregore can control you, because you now have your own opinion, your own boundaries, and your voice, out loud, not behind a mask, not rented out to someone else's program. Remember this: to heal, to feel light, to find your true self. Be real. Don't play roles. Don't wear other people's masks. Don't hide what's inside. This doesn't mean attacking people. It means embracing both the dark and the light in you, because both exist in every human. That's what makes you alive. Suppress your shadow long enough and it will retaliate, through exhaustion, illness, emptiness. But when you say, "Yes, this too is me," you return to yourself. Your true strength lies in your uniqueness, in your contradictions, in your ability to be soft and fierce, to love and rage, to say yes and no. This is wholeness. Be who you are. Thank you for being here. Accept yourself as you are. Love yourself as you are. Because your individuality is your real power. I wish you peace, clarity, and strength. See you in the next video.